Chuck Morris, and I am the president of the World Folk Music Association. And on behalf of WFMA and Focus Music, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out this evening, those that did come out, and thank all of you who are listening and watching online as well. Some of you may wonder why it's me standing here and not Herb Levy. Well, I want you all to know that Herb is watching. He's online, watching from his house, relatively new house, in Charlottesville, Virginia. I think that should explain why he might not be here tonight. But his moving and our desire as an organization, WFMA, to do more concerts in the Virginia area led to this partnership of the World Folk Music Association and Focus Music. And for the foreseeable future, we will be presenting the concerts at a venue that Focus has previously used, and we'll work together to make that happen, make the publicity and so on work the way it should. And we're delighted for this opportunity to bring some music to this area. Now, I'd like to introduce to you now the person who will be the new Herb Levy, the gentleman who will be introducing our artists and as we go forward. And that gentleman is Brent Ruggles. He is the vice president of our organization. He is also now on the board of Focus Music, and he lives a lot closer to here than I do. Okay, so those were the criteria. So I'll bring on Brent.
All right, thank you, Chuck. How y'all doing tonight? You ready for some great music? Come on, you ready for some great music? Excellent. So I'm looking forward to help fill Herb's shoes and bring some good music, continue to bring good music to St. Aidan's, and have this continue to be a Focus venue, but also now co-sponsored by the World Folk Music Association, or as we affectionately say, WFMA. So if you hear WFMA, that's what we're talking about. It's World Folk Music Association. So we're excited for our first co-sponsored under new management to bring Andrew McKnight. Now, Andrew has been a longtime performer for us at the World Folk Music Association. I'm sure he's done shows for Focus in the past as well. He's been a full-time performer since 1996. Makes his home in Virginia. I don't know if he's originally from Virginia. I didn't get around to asking him that, but I guess he's a Virginia native now. He does travel and entertain audiences throughout the U.S. He's performed at the Kennedy Center, International Storytelling Center, and the Atlanta Olympics. Has been part of the Rocky Mountain, South Florida, Boston, and Delmarva Folk Festival lineups, and a guest of NPR's Art of the Song and River City Folk shows. In many years, he's also been in the annual Mountville Folk Festival. And I was reminiscing, and one of the few times that I was booked as a performer with the World Folk Music Association in one of their showcases, he was on the same list of performers that I got to play in. So we were on the same bill together, which was exciting for me, because then he could elevate the room after I got done on the stage. So with that, you're in for a great treat of some good music and his multitude of guitars. He's outnumbered tonight. Guitars to singers, but I'm sure that won't be a problem for him. Please welcome Andrew McKnight.
Thank you. Can I just say that when I could see you from over there, before I got under the lights, y'all are beautiful. Absolutely drop dead gorgeous, because you are in living 3D. What a treat. How are you tonight, people? Have you been taking good care of your good selves? I'm glad you're here tonight at the Dispensary of Medicinal Joy, because that's my job, because music sure as heck is medicine, and man, I don't even need to tell you to take your medicine. You know you're here. And you took the time out of your busy lives to get in the car and come here to hear me tell you that. And there's no money back at this point, I'm afraid. I'm mighty glad to be here with you tonight. I'm going to set this thing so that I can actually see you over it perfectly. So yes, I come from a little place out at the foot of the Blue Ridge in western Loudoun County, and I'll take you for a quick spin around my little town. They close our road on the 4th of July for the kids to ride by. Streamers on their bikes, red, blue, and white, let the judges decide. Bring a dish to share, your favorite folding chair, try to be cool. We read the famous words, just like we've heard since we were kids in school. In my little town, renamed for Honest Abe, somehow it became where I put roots down. Graveyard stones hide more than bones in a red clay ground. These sunken gravel roads wind back in time and slowly disappear. The last dairy farm keeps holding on another year. In my little town, in my little town, when the fire breaks out and the roof caves in, when the snow's piled high, times are worse they've been. The progress of the present brings the future crashing down. Stand up with each other here in our little town. Try not to blink and miss our little town. The holiday lights, cold winter nights, herald angels sing from door to door, just like the year before, firelight caroling. And we pray that it lasts, cherishing our past until it's gone. When neighbors still wave, stories we still save to pass on down. In my little town, in my little town, when the fire breaks out and the roof caves in, when the snow's piled high, times are worse they've been. The progress of the present brings the future crashing down. Stand up with each other here in our little town. Try not to blink and miss our little town. A world of change swirls around my little town. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, we've all had a really wacky last 2.5 years. But my life was kind of going sideways before that, actually. Long about 2016 or so, when my parents took the DNA test, my ancestors hijacked my music career and wouldn't relent until I had not only made an album of songs inspired by them, but wrote a book about the experience too. And I got a lot more to say about that, but for the first, my first entree into that that experience of incarceration by the long departed, I sort of grew to appreciate the fact that we all have this genetic family tree, right? All these spaces and lines and stuff for 3 times great-grandparents and 4 times great-grandparents and people that we have no idea who the hell they were. And yet, there's something really funny about the fact that it doesn't matter if we knew who they were or not, because you can't take a single one of them away and still be here. And I thought, I'm pretty focused on me and my stuff and my kid and my wife and my life, and I don't really have time for that. And wait a second, you're telling me I got to be grateful to all these people that I don't know. And I have no clue if these were decent, good, upright people or rogues, renegades, and petty thieves. I've got no clue. I know about some of them. And I guess I thought, well, I really ought to be a little bit more grateful about it, because without any one of them, without every one of them, I'm not here. And maybe I ought to do something about that gratitude a little bit. So that was the purpose of the song, but because I'm a singer-songwriter, it still wound up being about me in the end anyway. I'm unredeemable. I've been trying to touch the past. I want to know just why I am. Reach back through the mist of time. So much I want to understand. You were a child once like me, full of wonder, of pain. I know sometimes that you were scared. I know that sometimes you were brave. This is the only life I've known. In part you gave it to me. Look behind or look ahead. You are woven in the thread in my web of mystery. I'm still trying to touch the past while the present slips away. But I've gotta know how your part goes before those pages fade to gray. For you were old once like me. I wish that I could see your face. No one else knows what's past our eyes. Hurt and anger, love and grace. This is the only life I've known. In part you gave it to me. Look behind or look ahead. You're woven in the thread in my web of mystery. Someday, centuries from now, like coaxing amber into flame, since I've left a verse or two behind, someone might still speak my name. Someone might still speak my name. Someone might still speak my name. Thank you so much. How high is this mountain that I How far have I tumbled to be here? And how long must I climb to see sweet sun again? Out of this valley of despair. Find that star, set my course straight and true again. And how high is this mountain that I've fallen down? How far have I tumbled to be here? How long must I climb to see sweet sun again? Out of this valley of despair, out of this valley of despair. So good to have a guitar in hand in a room with people in it. So lovely. Thank you. You've made my whole month. The rest of the month I could just everything from here is gravy, you know? It's awesome. So one of the many things that happened while my ancestors were in charge was that I discovered that my dad's family had made much more of a contribution to my musical inheritance than I had been aware of. I always thought it had come from his mother's side of the family, and turns out that my great-grandfather, Andrew McKnight, was a fiddler from Scotland. I knew that part, but I didn't know that he had also written songs and published one. So in the course of all of this scuffling about of digging through my ancestry, my parents actually found the copy of this piece of music published by my great-grandfather with my name on it and a year in Roman numerals that I worked out to be 1906. That was pretty freaky. So this whole project kind of just started just blowing up. Everywhere I turned, some ancestor sticking something else in my face. And I realized that I owed my dad a lot for all of this, because it was his mother who kept everything and him who had no interest in it, which meant that his mother made sure that I got as much of it as she could get to me. and it turned out that he saved a few more things than she knew about. But my dad is the reason that I've had a life in music, because he always, there were bands rehearsing in my basement from my earliest days of childhood that I remember anything. He was a school teacher, so they, in order to have enough money to buy a house and all of that, you had to moonlight, and he did it by playing piano in a band. And so over the nearly 30 years that I've been writing songs and singing them for people, my dad has sat in with me on stage many times, but we had never recorded anything together. And I thought, you know, I'm in debt to a whole lot of your family for the fact that I have this creative project going on. So, Dad, how would you like to play piano on one of these songs? And he said, well, okay. So I sent him some demos of some of the ones that I've played for you already. And he calls me about a week later. No. What do you mean? No. You don't count to 4 all the time. And you don't count to anything consistently. I have no idea what to do on these songs. No, I can't do that. I said, all right, well, what if I wrote something that's kind of like, I'm going to write it for you and me, all right? I'll write something, and of course, Dad loves playing like a lot of old rock and roll from the 60s and 70s. He's quite good at it, but his sweet spot is like the Great American Songbook, you know, the jazzy chords and a diminished here and a minor 7th flat 5 there. And so I said, all right, give me a little time. I'll craft something up. So I sat at it, and it came together pretty quick. And I said, all right, let's see what he thinks of this. And I sent it to him. He called me the next day, and he said, I like that. We could do that. Great. He said, I didn't listen to the words much. That's cool, Pop. So we got this dude to come to his house with a recorder in Connecticut, and I got him to play, and he did a lovely job. And he was 83, and I'm thinking, I just gave my dad his first recording credit. And come to find out this summer, he happened to casually drop that he and his fraternity buddies who'd had a band had actually recorded a 78 while they were in college. I'm like, well, there's our relationship in a nutshell, Pop, I guess. That's how it goes with sons and fathers, I guess. We're all born screaming, naked and afraid. Looking back, it's funny seeing all those plans I made. We'd throw our balls and race our bikes, sometimes dare to dream. Manhood ain't as hard as fathers make it seem. Guess it's just the way of things. We take our place in line, like our fathers and their fathers did when it was their time. Now we're slowly trading places. Suppose those are the rules. Father Time won't suffer any fools. Nothing else gets quite as tangled up in knots as sons and fathers do. No use settling old scores. Gotta meet him where he's at, on that bridge or that far shore. Now it's my turn in that easy chair. It's the hardest thing I've done. Though any man can take the gig, it ain't for everyone. The have-tos, the must-dos, credit and the blame we earn, hoping what we teach is what they need to learn. Perfect at getting out of our own way. Hey, we do not, and we will not, could not, though we know it's true. Nothing else gets quite as tangled up in knots as sons and fathers do. Thank you so much. Why don't you on guitars? Well, that's a darn good question. Truthfully, if I had the answer for you, all I can say is, it may not be a fair fight, but I'm going down swinging. Rob, it sounds so good up here, man. I want to give a shout out to my dear friend Rob Hinkle for all things that he does in this world to make this world a better place, with a guitar in his own hands, with a pen in his hand, with a microphone in front of him, but especially making me sound like $1 million tonight. Thank you, my friend. So, there were a lot of things that happened when my parents took DNA tests. Now, I will tell you, there weren't any, like, ridiculous surprises. None of those, like, what did Grandma do? None of that. But, there were things that became clear to me fairly quickly on that I had really I was not prepared for. Now, I knew that so much of my mom's family came from Ireland. They came before, during, and after the famine, pretty much. And, we here all came from someplace else, most of us, at some point along the way between the 1600s and now. And so we always are so much about remembering those immigrant ancestors and what they did to get here and how they managed to get here and all the rest of it. And I had looked at my mom's DNA matches, and I started realizing that some of these people who are like third cousins and stuff live in Ireland. And it hit me for the very first time that all of those immigrant ancestors had to walk away from families they loved to never see them again. I had never once thought before then about the left behind. boats over angry seas, risked everything, giving life to me. Left the home they'd known for a stranger's shore, hope and hunger for one chance more. Irish blessings in American wakes, glasses raised to the hearts that break, gathered at the door to see them go. Of the rest of their lives we'll never know. Hold on tight, storms on the ocean. Hold on tight, storms on the ocean. Hey, break through the door slammed in your face with the love that remains. Left behind, left behind. Never let go in my heart and mind of all their prayers and desperate dreams. Left behind, forever change once you cross that line. The great divide that lies between the leaving and the left behind. Coyote howls in the Mayan night. A boy in the shadows slips from sight. The packet in his belly is his only chance at someone else's promised land. 1 foot down in front of the other. 1 foot down in front of the other. Hey, climb the wall rising in your face with the love that remains. Left behind, left behind. Never let go in my heart and mind of all their prayers and desperate dreams. Left behind, forever change once you cross that line. The great divide that lies between the leaving and the left behind. Leaving and the left behind. In the morning sun, another journey is just begun. But time is a river and the river flows through a mother's love toward the letting go. Don't turn back even if you want to. Can't turn back even if you want to. Hey, the way ahead is yours to claim with the love that remains. Left behind, left behind. I never let go in my heart and mind of all their prayers and desperate dreams. Left behind, forever change once you cross that line. The great divide that lies between the leaving and the left behind. Leaving and the left behind. Leaving and left behind. Leaving and left behind. Leaving and left behind. There's a list down there. I got some idea. Whatever it is, it'll be okay. We'll be all right. Y'all doing okay? Everybody doing okay in internet land? I understand that we're streaming to the world tonight. I always sort of think that that's not only really cool, but a little like fantastic, like out of, like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory kind of fantastic. Like who would have ever dreamt that you could do stuff like that? So if you're having a chocolate bar because you like still laid up a bunch of it from Halloween, I'm hoping you're enjoying your internet candy, and that's all cool too. So this week is Veterans Day. Right before the pandemic shut the world down, I was working with someone who is a longtime friend of WFMA for sure, Mac Bailey. Mac was a longtime member of the Hard Travelers here and did a lot of work with John Denver and John Denver's memory. Over the last several years, Mac has devoted his life not only to music therapy, but using it with wounded combat veterans, using songwriting as a tool to help them reframe their trauma and rewire how they think about it. And I've had the privilege of working with Mac on 2 of those retreats, and I sort of liken it to being like taking a college course in a weekend, because you get there on Saturday morning and you're going to work with 2 different veterans, and you get 2 hours with each of them, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And it's your opportunity to hear their story and ask questions and start taking it and framing it into something musical that resonates with them. And then, as I like to say, my big job is, you know, I sit there and I listen and I absorb it all and I ask questions and all of that, but then it's like, my God, someone has just handed me this huge, incredibly precious nugget of their soul and something that happened to them and their story. And it's like, I go back to my house and sit down and go all Frankenstein with all my songwriting tools in the make a living room, and I work at it for a while, and by Sunday morning I show up with a draft of each of these 2 songs and we shine it up a little bit. And then Sunday at the end of the retreat, their family and friends come to hear them, and they some of the veterans sing their songs and some of them just sit there with you while you're doing it. But they tell a little bit of their story, and it's an amazingly sacred experience. So in honor of Veterans Day, I want to share one of those songs with you now. And this is one I wrote with, I call them all my friend now, because I feel like they let me have this little sacred window into their world. And if that's not an act of friendship and trust, then I don't know what is. So Alex is from Puerto Rico, and he worked in mortuary affairs. And Alex was one of these people who was always concerned about those people who worked for him, the people in his unit, whether they were at Dover or whether they were in the field recovering the fallen under fire in Afghanistan. And he was sort of the abuelo of his unit, and it took a huge toll. And when he was back, one day his wife knew something was very wrong, and she didn't do the things that she would normally do. And all of these vets at some point came to a place, this moment of darkness, where they were ready to sign off duty one last time for good. And because I got to work with all of them, I know that all of them had some moment of intervention, somebody, something, some moment. And when he had passed through that moment, and they were talking in the doctor's office afterwards, and she said, you know, you can't do anything about all of the things you did and the people that you lost, but you were amazing to all of them. But now you're here and you have a family. You have a new mission now. Duty calls in many ways. I chose to serve the fallen, sent home to Dover Air Force Base, awaiting love's final calling. Do your job, get each detail right, and honor guarded with all my might. And I'm gonna make sure that you get home. These eyes have seen families cry. These arms bear the reasons why. This heart that survives somehow to take a new mission now. But this is my mission now. Didn't know why they'd haunt my dreams till I found that I was falling, wrapped up in an angel's wings. When my death came calling, she said my love keeps your heart held tight and honor guarded with all my might. And I'm gonna make sure you're okay. These eyes have seen families cry. These arms bear the reasons why. This heart that survives somehow to take a new mission now. This is my mission now. The baby boy sleeps gently. He wears mi abuelo's name. Now this grandfather's aching heart, once again broken open and changed. Family's everything to me, a love I guard with all that I can be. And I'm gonna make sure you're safe each night. These eyes have seen families cry. These arms bear the reasons why. This heart that survives somehow to take a new mission now. But this is my mission now, to take a new mission now. But this is my mission now. Thank you so much. This place, it seems alien and familiar all at once. A microphone, and it works. It doesn't just beam things out to the internet, it actually beams things out to people sitting in front of it. It's pretty crazy. I'm going to just go on the assumption that I'm not dreaming any of you, that you are the real deal. But man, am I grateful. I am, like a lot of people, wonder sometimes about what's happened along the road to where we are and how we got here and where are we going. Seems like sometimes it's easy to forget that we are all human beings and that every one of us was born into this world the same way pretty much. And all of the things that we learned along the way, the good, the bad, and all of it. I sometimes think that there are little lessons sometimes that get lost in all of the vitriol and the hurling digital bricks back and forth across the Twitter divide and Facebook and all of the other things that we do that make it easy to take away the humanity of the people that we're hurling stuff at, and we have absolutely no idea what their lives are like, only what they have become. My grandmother used to make me, the only grandson, go off and do stuff with her when I would go visit in the summertime for a week. The fact that my grandmother would tolerate 8-year-old me for a week got her in sainthood on the first try. There was no retake of that test. Let's just say I was a little precocious. And Grandma figured she ought to put some of that energy to good use, you know? So she volunteered doing this and that. She'd been the head of nursing at the hospital in my grandparents' town of Bristol, Connecticut. And so we would go to the hospital, and then we'd go to church or the historical society, and she'd be volunteering doing this and doing that. And I distinctly remember asking her one day, sitting there on the bench seat of her car, you know, that's how long ago it was, bench seats, man.
I looked at her, I said, Grandma, we done 4 things today and not a single one of them has been mini golf. And I need you to tell me what the re part of tired means, because I'm just tired. We haven't done anything fun yet, and we've been going all day long. And I'm pretty sure that my grandmother didn't waste many teachable moments, but she never gave me any indication that she was cross about it either. Again, got in on the first try, right? She said, you know, all of these things I do aren't big things. What's it to me to bake a pie for the church dinner, or spend 10 minutes talking to somebody at the hospital, or those are all things I like to do. She said, they're all little things. But imagine, she said to the kid who would grow up to be an engineer before he came to his senses, imagine what the world would be like if a whole lot of people all did that same little thing. Can you imagine the power of that? Actually, Grandma, no, probably I can't imagine it, but it sounds good. If you say so, Grandma, then that's good enough for me. And I think it took me about 5 decades to get the lesson. But I'm pretty sure the lesson was, you do those good things not because anybody's looking, but because somebody needs you to. But that we human beings perhaps are much more than a perfectly arithmetic species. That in fact, we are capable of adding up collectively to a whole lot more than the sum of our parts. And maybe most of all, she never wanted me to lose faith that those good things always, always matter. Rush hour traffic going nowhere. The merge becomes a contact sport. Frustration boiling over. Tempers growing short. The suited man bucks the trend at the toll booth. Lets the grandmother in. He knows the people that we share the road with have loved ones waiting just like him. Good things matter long after they're done. Good things matter, each and every one. Good things matter, no matter how small. Good things matter to us all. Tear Street boy behind a playground fence, with teams picked, game in full swing. His braces hold him back from what his glasses show. He is not good at this thing, like a bigger boy who plays a game with natural skill and grace. Says, here's my bat, take my place. He knows the final score is more than runs across the plate by the pinch hitter's smiling grace. Good things matter long after they're done. Good things matter, each and every one. Good things matter, no matter how small. Good things matter to us all. Linger for the old one's words. Let a child know she's been heard. Ask a wallflower to dance. Give mistakes a second chance. Smile at strangers on the street. Share the table where you eat. Leave the extra change behind. Fight fear, let color shine. Kind words to chase the gray. When things are hard, find a way. It all comes back someday. They're done. Good things matter, each and every one. Good things matter, no matter how Thank you. So, close out the first set on this beauty. I saved the good songs for the second set so you'll have reason to stick around. You're getting the C material right now. You're too kind, but thank you. I appreciate it. You go on, keep doing that. So, I wrote a book about this whole crazy experience with my parents taking DNA tests and everything that happened afterwards. Now, maybe on the internet, some of you know my parents. I'm pretty sure nobody here in the room has met my parents. So, my parents, they're funny little people. I go walking with my mom most every day these days because mom got an iPhone. And they live in Connecticut and I live here, but mom's hearing aids connect automatically to her iPhone. So we plan our walk so we're out walking and keeping each other company 400 miles apart, and it's really cool. But my parents had never been super curious about their ancestry until all of these things started happening with the DNA. And in particular, my dad always thought, because his dad told him, because his grandfather spoke in a Scottish brogue so thick he could never understand him, we're Scots. Come to find out, we might be Scots, but we came from Northern Ireland. And all of a sudden, my dad is curious, and he wants charts and trees and facts and figures, and he is interested. And he is interested in doing something my parents really never do, and that was, let's go to Ireland and Scotland, and let's track some of these people down. Like, oh boy. So what they proposed was, my sister and I leave our families here in the States and go on one last great nuclear family vacation. 16 days of my sister and I being completely responsible for these people, driving around in a small minivan on smaller roads on the wrong side, and hoping that the nuclear family doesn't achieve fission. It was epic. It was the trip of a lifetime, but getting there. So my dad was an Eagle Scout. My dad takes "be prepared" in like all caps, bold font, bumper sticker size, like type A+ kind of personality. So they decided in September of 2016 that they wanted to go on this trip. And by November, my dad was packed. He had his suitcase. He had figured out where everything could go, what he needed. And here's the kicker: where he would stash the handful of things that he anticipated that we would need, that either my sister or I might forget to pack. So there could be a good Irish "I told you so" in there somewhere. So the trip was in May. So Dad was ready, and about 5 days before we go, a new DNA match shows up, adds DNA matches, and it turns out that she's a third cousin. Now, we already have one third cousin that we've connected with who lives in the town of Newtonards in County Down, like 20 kilometers from Belfast, where our McKnight family first shows up. He lives there in town. We're going to go see him. That's cool. But now we have this new DNA match, and it turns out that Eileen is a third cousin from another line of the family. And she's like, "Oh, you're coming to Ireland. Fantastic. We'll meet you in Newtonards. I'll get together with Paul. We'll get it all arranged. We'll take you to the churches where the great-great-grandparents got married and all this other cool stuff." And she had it all planned out, and we're like, we're going to meet family in freaking Northern Ireland. This is as cool can possibly be. So we go, and they were the last full day that we had, I guess, in Ireland. And we met them, and we had a lovely time, and we walked everywhere. And she'd arranged for dinner at this restaurant kind of on the water, looking out over the Irish Channel. And I'm sitting there at dinner, and I'm listening to everybody talking. And I will tell you, if you've never been to Northern Ireland, take a Scottish brogue and the Irish turn a phrase and put them together, and it's pretty hard to understand what people are saying. And that becomes relevant here in a moment, I promise. I swear it. So, but I'm sitting there listening to them all talking, and I'm looking out over the water, and I realize our family left across that water to Scotland in 1863 and never returned. And their families have been here in Ireland since, and this was probably the first time since then that the families of these 3 children of the great-great-grandparents had been in the same place at the same time. And I was just floored imagining that. And imagining what those ancestors would think of knowing us doing that, figuring it out and like being there. It was crazy. So after dinner, Eileen said, well, we'd love to hear our American singer-songwriter cousin play a little. And I was like, the quartermaster here wouldn't let me take a guitar on the plane, so I got nothing. Couldn't fit it in my luggage, you know. She says, oh no, my husband here, the minister, plays guitar, and we brought his. Cool. One of my dad's requirements about this trip was that we stay with local people, and those local people should have a piano so he could sit down and like sort of blow off a little steam at the end of the day. And for the last 3 or 4 days, my sister and I had failed utterly at that. So there's a piano in the foyer of this restaurant, and yeah, 3 keys are stuck, but Dad, make it work. It's fine. Let's go do it. So we sat and we played for a little while, and all these lovely Northern Ireland people are walking in and out, and they're smiling at us and saying incomprehensible things. I guess they were okay. And at the end, we're packing up, and I'm like, Eileen, I can't believe you brought a guitar for me to play. Thank you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And she says, it goes with you. Now, I'm not sure if it was 2 glasses of wine, or the accent, or just all of the adrenaline, but I'm like, what I think I just heard come out of your mouth would have been absolutely crazy. There's no way she could have said, I misunderstood you. What did you just say? It goes with you. We can get another one here. It was made here in Northern Ireland. We want our American singer-songwriter cousin to bring home something from his ancestral homeland. This very guitar. When we got back to our Airbnb, I went on the Loudon Guitars website and looked up the serial number. It had been made in the town of Newtonards, where our family came from. When I say I'm the luckiest guy I know, I'm not kidding. Won't be a day goes by that I don't count my blessings. Count your blessings, don't count your gold. Don't need money when you're lying cold. Can't buy your way into heaven, I am told. Count your blessings, don't count your gold. Count the good deeds that you've done. Lend your hand to help someone. St. Peter's got his list, he's checking everyone. Count the good deeds that you've done.
troubles. All you need is on your back. Believe in all your blessings. Don't worry about all you Count the lessons you learn each day. Let them guide you, show you the way. Follow wise words, you won't go astray. Count the lessons you learn each day. Count your blessings, don't count your gold. You don't need money when you're lying cold. You can't buy your way into heaven, I am told. Count your blessings, don't count your gold. Wow, wow, count your blessings, don't count your gold. See y'all after the intermission. Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take 15-minute intermission. I'm assuming if you're here to support the arts, right? And that's one of the reasons you come. So, World Folk Music Association, being that we're a new partner at this venue, we have some of these brochures out front. Talks about what we've done. We've been around since 1982. And there's also a place where you can fill in your information and become a member of the World Folk Music Association. Now, if you're a member of Focus, you get discounts at this venue. If you're a member of WFMA, you also get discounts at this venue now. But if you're looking for another opportunity to support the arts, you can take a look, and if you want, and if you sign up tonight, I'm gonna pull my vice president card out of my pocket and say, I'm gonna offer you, instead of our normal price of $35 for your first year membership, it'll be $30. Save you $5. Yeah, can you believe it? So, if you sign up tonight, one night only, $30 for your first year of membership. Or if you're renewing, if you happen to be a member and you know you're due to renew, you can renew for your next year. All right, we're gonna take 15 minutes. Check out the CD buffet over here, and there's a book. Andrew's got some great stuff to sell. Support him and his music, and we'll be back soon. All right, a couple housekeeping items to do first. Out of curiosity, Chuck and I are both originally from Michigan. And if this works, great. If it doesn't, then we'll just move on. Is anybody else here from Michigan? Well, I know, Yvonne, I know you're originally from Michigan. Okay. I had rumor that somebody might be here from Michigan, but they're not, so we'll move on. So let's start with our drawing. We're gonna, those of you that filled out a piece of paper when you got your ticket or you signed in are gonna be in a drawing. And we have this really great DVD of the Chad Mitchell Trio, Then and Now. So it's got multiple Chad Mitchell Trio concerts. There's 2 or 3 DVDs in here. So I think you'll really, whoever wins this will really enjoy it. Chuck's gonna pick out a ticket for me. And Ruth Thompson? Rudu Thompson? Yay! All right. So a couple other things. I want to thank some people. First of all, thank you to St. Aidan's for letting us use this facility. This is a great opportunity to gather some people for some great music. I also want to thank the volunteers, Brian, Ann, Carol, and Mary Jane. I hope I got that list right. So thank you for helping out tonight. Thanks to Rob Hinkle on sound, and to Abigail Wertman, who's doing our streaming out into the internet. Thanks, and thanks to all of you that are out there watching from your homes. Couple of upcoming events. We have World Folk Music. We've already done all our events for this year, so we're going to start up in the new year. So be on our website, wfma.net, and or our Facebook page to keep an eye out for what's coming up there. And then Focus has some upcoming shows. They're listed in the program here. Gold Pine is the next one in Rockville, at the Rockville venue on November 13th. November 19th, they've got Lavinia Nesmith. And December 3rd, the Rough and Tumble in Gaithersburg. And December 10th, Locks and Vodka Tabla for 2, also in Rockville. And then a couple of virtual events. Saturday, January 14th is Mary Lynn Hammond and Kim Moberg. And then Saturday, February 11th, virtual will be Illy Amy, which is Rob Hinkle's band, which is a great concert to be sure. I always enjoy listening to them. Anyway, without further ado, I will turn the stage back over to Mr. Andrew McKnight.
Thank you. Because it should sound glorious in here.
me another Ansel Adams, American original, sculptor of shadow and light. Will another have the patience to await the perfect moment when the elements and angles are just right? Ansel Adams was no hero, cursed with pride and foible, but like any Einstein you find, take everything you can. Seraphim of film and format, wizard of the lens, freezing magic in a frame of stone and sand. And in a range of light, a gentleman revealed his heart, showed us treasures God in plain sight hid. And in a sacred setting, shutter clicking on the wind, let us see like Ansel Adams did. A moment is so precious in our hurry, rush lives. Seems the only way to save it is hang it over the TV. Our modern generation focused on the destination. Is it still a thing of beauty if we move too fast to see? And in a range of light, a gentleman revealed his heart, showed us treasures God in plain sight hid. In a sacred setting, shutter clicking on the wind, let us see like Ansel Adams did. Shadows. I've been known to talk to ghosts, and I strain to hear echoes of the past. His reflections in still waters, spires soar into the sky. Oh, remind me that this heartbreak will not last. And in a range of light, a gentleman revealed his heart, showed us treasures God in plain sight hid. And in a sacred setting, shutter clicking on the wind, let us see like Ansel Adams did. Adams, American original, sculptor of shadow and light. Thank you so much. I'm so delighted that y'all stayed for the second set. I was lying about having good songs, though. They're all the same songs. They all came out of my fool head. Some of them came out of my heart, some of them came out of my fingers, some of them came out through my windshield. That's just the way the songs go sometimes. I wrote a lot of the songs on something worth standing for in a different time and a different place. And I can't say that I'm thrilled that some of them are more relevant now than when I wrote them. I've sort of been thinking about the fact that we seem to have developed a national case of empathy deficit.
that somehow what we used to be good at doing, we aren't so good at doing anymore. About imagining how we might help one another get across this river, because we all trying to get to the other side. And maybe it's because we're forgetting what it's like to live something other than our own cloistered existence these last couple of years. Or maybe it's just the fact that we've sort of lost our ability to imagine what it'd be like to walk in someone else's shoes. In the darkness, in the desert, searchlights glare and there's gunshots and shouting, but somehow I slip by, only God knows why. The trucker dropped me at the Arkansas line. Where I come from is where the drugs run, and the men come with money and lust for honest living. Hope God's forgiving, for I left my family for this one chance at hope. And I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? Scars and scratches, chemical rashes. No one trusts me to do more than clean, but I've got secrets. I've learned English. Someday the name on a door will be mine, and I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all the politicians. Take their positions, collecting campaign cash to build a wall behind them. But I do work you won't, dirty jobs you don't, and all I ask is the right to be human. And I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? I have dreams just like you. Oh, if I let you walk in these shoes, would you be here? Thank you so much. All right. He told me to drop it down, flip it over, and it did it like magic. Man, it's almost like somebody preset it to do that or something. Looky there, would ya? See if I can make you do this thing. Y'all doing okay? That's good, because I'm having a blast. I'd really be sad if you weren't coming along for the ride. A wee sip. Mom reminded me to stay hydrated tonight. Let's do this like this here. There we go. Sort of. Ish. Maybe. Yeah. remind me, I worked at Ace Hardware in my dream last night. I am not mechanically inclined in the least. Mic stands, though, after a little while, there's only so many pieces to them, right? So, before the pandemic happened, conservative estimate was that some 20 million Americans suffered from some form of depression. I can only imagine that after this time of quarantine and everything else, the numbers are probably a little higher than that. For a lot of people, sometimes just getting out of bed in the morning feels like that showdown at the OK Corral. In my hour of darkness, before the morning light, that's when the demons stalk me in the day and night. For all their rage and anger, fuel flame in my fear, drive a man to desperation from the doubt that he hears, and I crumble like stone into sand. Life rolls like dust from my hand. The showdown approaches at high noon desert sun on the barren plains of truth. Ain't nowhere to run. To say if a man should wander long enough in the heat and he survives the solitude, his soul he'll meet, and I crumble like stone into sand. Life rolls like dust from my hand. The final hour is upon me as twilight claims the sky. To darkness I surrender, for no peace I'll find. So dig my grave gently upon a tall tree hill. Though my body's lost the battle, no, my soul never will. And I crumble like stone into sand. Life blows like dust from my head, and I crumble like stone into sand. Life blows like dust. Thank you. Thank y'all so much. This is a versatile guitar. Every time I write a song on it, I twist the knobs until I find something I can slide around in and call it good. Hard to remember what they are from one song to the next sometimes. I think this part of this is just wanting to fall off of here, Rob. Just so you know. Like the top. Shh. Give me a job I can do. There we go. Thank you, my friend. Thank you. A man of many talents. So, I think my grandmother, Graham's the one who gave me the gateway drug to Ancestry. It's all her fault. Because she made all of us grandkids write out like our Revolutionary War heritage or something, and my terrible handwriting and all of that, it was like when you get to Ancestry and you have like colonial or Revolutionary War ancestry, there's like millions of people who share it with you, and they've all been on Ancestry before you got there. So it's all done. You just like follow shaky leaf hints into the past. And so my grandmother had given me this big, crazy, beautiful bush of a family tree. And so the first year that I was working on Ancestry, I'd pour myself a wee dram late in the evening in the winter when it starts being dark for like 14 hours a day. I call it high genealogy season because it's the only thing I can do to like occupy those long nights, especially if the Caps are having a bad year, you know? So I would sit there and I'd kind of like noodle along and pour myself a little whiskey and kind of just follow shaky leaf hints and research yet another little part of her family. And one night, I stumbled into this 10 times great-grandfather by the name of Nathaniel Turner. And Nathaniel Turner was a ship captain and one of the original settlers, apparently, of New Haven, Connecticut, back in like 1640 or something crazy like that. And I guess he made his livelihood sailing back and forth to England with people and goods and stuff. And the only reason I know any of this is because in 1645 they set out to go to England, and as soon as they got out on the open North Atlantic, a storm came up and all hands were lost. And the only reason I know that is because it was immortalized in Longfellow's poem, The Phantom Ship. So I sat there with my near-empty glass for a little while processing that, and I'm afraid to say that after I was like, wow, the next thing I thought was, I'm really glad dude had kids before he got on that boat, because otherwise I'm not here, right? And I was thinking how cool it is that, sometimes we have these moments when we're like finding out something about our family, when you have this like little wisp of a minute, just a smell, a sound, something that like connects you to that moment for just that instant, and somehow it feels a little more real. And then I got to thinking about all of the ancestors who lived far beyond any time that I would ever know anything about. And I started imagining what their lives were like because, well, frankly, when you're a singer-songwriter, you're given an artistic license and an artistic license number, and you are expected to do something with them. So this is about ancestors that I know nothing at all about, except that they probably lived, loved, suffered, prospered, and died during the times of the Roman Empire. 2,000 years ago today, a farmer walked his field, wondered what the land would yield before the winter snow. 2,000 years ago today, two young lovers kissed, laughed and made a wish beneath the shooting star glow. Somewhere in a far and distant future, millennia beyond imagining, as time takes away what will remain of how we lived and loved today.
2,000 years ago today, anger hurled a stone, break another's bones and keep some fool upon a throne. 2,000 years ago today, a cog in a war machine drew his last breath on a distant plain as he dreamed of home. Somewhere in a far and distant future, millennia beyond imagining, as time ticks away, what will remain of how we lived and loved today? 2,000 years ago today, a mama hushed her little ones, kissed them on the head and tucked them into bed, and turned her face toward the sky for blessings from on high. Prayed to guide them safe on the unknown path ahead. She wondered someday in a far and distant future, millennia beyond imagining, as time ticks away, what will remain of how we lived and loved today, of how we live and love Thank you so much. All right, I'll put it back now. Something like that. And this can go right here. Step on it. Dang it. Y'all doing okay? Me too. Super happy to be here with y'all tonight. One of my ancestors kind of haunted me for about 5 years. And it started with that 9-year-old's handwriting. Terrible handwriting. Because as I went to enter his name into Ancestry, nothing was coming up. And I'm like, everybody else has like lit off all kinds of buzzers, beeps, and alarms, and 50,000 shaky leaf hints and all that other jazz. And what do you mean this guy's not in there? And I finally started doing a little Googling, and I was thinking that maybe the 9-year-old had written his first name and misspelled it. So I fooled around with a couple of different spellings, and finally I hit on the Rosetta Stone. It was Artis, Aretas. I don't know how I ever missed it. But I type in Artis Culver, and there he is, staring at me. From the Connecticut Public Radio website, of all things, from a story they had done not 6 months earlier. The story was about this exhibition of photographs at the Connecticut State Library, of which his picture was one, of
Connecticut's Civil War veterans who'd been imprisoned at Andersonville. Holy crap. Over the next few years, I made the trip to the National Archives and held his records in my hand and walked the field at Antietam, where just 3 weeks after joining the Union Army, he was called into battle along with the other raw recruits who'd had one drill with their ancient Belgian rifles. And they were the ones who took the brunt of the charge that's always remembered about Antietam and the Confederate Army that saved the day, covering 17 miles in 8 hours from Harper's Ferry. These green kids that they ran into had no chance. And my 3 times great-grandfather was one of them. So I have a young cousin who lives in Bristol, Connecticut, which is where Artis Culver was from. He did come home from Andersonville, but he did not survive his treatment there. And he was buried, along with many other of the Civil War vets, in Bristol's West Cemetery. So we went and visited his grave, and we finally found him laying under a broken stone. This bothered my young cousin considerably, and it bothered me too, but it bothered him enough that he was like, we want to do something about it. And I was like, well, I bet you if we wrote to the VA, we could probably get him a stone. They would fix that up, and sure enough, they'll do exactly that. They made a lovely, perfect era stone for him. And on Veterans Day 2019, we all gathered there at West Cemetery to dedicate it. I needed that to finish the book, my 5-year walk with Artis Culver. But I thought he deserved a little bit more than just a chapter in a book. My name is Artis Culver, summer of '62. Traded in my papers for a uniform in blue. I took Abe Lincoln's bounty in Union, swore to save. What I've seen since that day haunts me to my grave. We were farmers, merchants, clockmakers, and I knew all their names. Some escaping trouble, still others seeking fame. Proud we marched down Main Street while Bristol rang her bells. None would know our destiny, to glory or to hell. Whoa, I can't escape the dream. Whoa, don't you hear this scream? Whoa, I will kill no more. Let them fight their Civil War. Put on a train to Maryland with but a single drill, to Antietam's killing fields. Upon that cornstalk hill, we faced their fiercest legion and withering hail of lead, and terror ran while rebel yells echoed in our heads. We dug graves for many days, watched by lifeless eyes, then marched with rifles at our backs and hands that fought at our side. Little Mac called it victory, but for failure we were blamed. And if I might survive this war, I vow to clear my name. Whoa, I can't escape the dream. Civil War. Surrounded the siege at Plymouth town. July white rag of surrender stopped the shells raining down. To Andersonville through gates of hell, its deadline we crossed. They paroled my skin and bones, the soul had long been lost. I am Artis Culver, my breath is fading fast.
tell my wife and children, love them to the last. The curse I leave this world with before the fighting's done is those that vote to start the wars be those that face the guns. Oh, I can't escape the chains. Oh, don't you hear this scream? Oh, and I will kill no more. Let them fight their civil war. Thank you. Thank you. I wasn't kidding when I told you they hijacked my career. I'm going to say it was a fair trade because I like some of the songs they gave me. This one here is an old song. Let's just say it's been a while since I wrote and recorded it, but some of you who've known me a while, you go right ahead and sing along, and if those of you who don't know it want to sing along, you go ahead too, and until somebody sticks an elbow in you, it's all good by me. All of my years I've lived here. It's the only way I know. Run the family farm with the grace of God above. Fertile soil below. Summer's gone 11 weeks of searing storm. Let's choke $50,000 worth of dreams going up in smoke. Sacrificed another field today to keep the others growing. Had to sell my milk and cows to keep the bankers going away. That line of clouds across the sky might bring the winds of death, the raindrops to my eyes. My wife, she's out there dancing in her checkered kitchen dress, droplets running down her brow, and her blonde hair's getting messed. Iowa can be a place where fertile famines drink. This year just poured life down from the brink, and I'm dancing in the rain. Before today my luck had gone, my heart left toward the worst, enough to make an honest man think a farmer's life is cursed. Remembering tales on my granddad's knees of soil that sprouted wing. It's taken 30 years for me to appreciate these things. My wife, she's out there dancing in her checkered kitchen dress, droplets running down her brow, and her blonde hair's getting messed. Iowa can be a place where fertile famines drink. This year just poured life down from the brink, and I'm dancing in the rain. Heard it on the radio, Dakota wheat fields won't survive. Cousin Jack up there will find some way to stay alive. Mother Nature's fickle ways might someday do me in, for I'm on my knees in gratitude 'cause it's raining. Next year we might stare at this same mess right in the face. This old White House and apple trees keep me fighting for this place, facing up to troubles that my children might not know. When you keep your generations on the farm all in a row, and my wife, she's out there dancing in her checkered kitchen dress, trumpets running down her brow, and her blonde hair's getting messed. Iowa can be a place where fertile famines drink. This year just poured life down from the brink, and I'm dancing in the rain. Dancing in the rain. I'm dancing in the rain. Thank you so much. You know, I really hate this part. This, like, you're all the way through the whole set list, which means the end has arrived, the last song. And I'm just milking it for just a moment that I'm here in a room with you. Not just any you audience, but in a room with you here tonight. Because every show is its own unique organism, you know? It's that thing about you being here and letting me do what I'm doing and you letting me see you taking it in. You could do the same exact show for the same audience 2 nights in a row and it would still be different. It still is like a unique, living, breathing organism. So thank you so much for the gift of tonight, because this night has been really lovely. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Chuck, Brent, everyone with WUFMA for like believing in this music again and going to the trouble of starting up a series again, and to everyone at Focus who's been doing this online throughout the pandemic, bringing music into people's houses. I've done a couple of things for Focus over the pandemic, and to be able to harness technology to do some good is an amazing thing. But to have y'all tag teaming together tonight to make tonight possible, thank you. Rob, my man, thank you for such beautiful sound tonight, brother. Till the next time we get to share a stage together, I look forward to that even more. We in my family come from a musical background, as I mentioned. But maybe the thing that I didn't mention is how much of a lifesaver that was to me when I was in middle school. Middle school. Oh. When I was little, I would sit there on the basement stairs. I'd sneak out of bed to sit there on the basement stairs and watch the band practice and listen to them picking apart harmonies for all the classic songs of the day, you know, Beatles and all of this other stuff. And I was immersed in this language, all oral and oral, you know, not really writing anything down. I never learned how to read or write music. I'm illiterate. But I've had it wound in my DNA. And when I hit middle school, I grabbed a guitar because I was desperate for anything.
Because, man, when you're in middle school, your feet are 3 sizes too big. You get a new zit on your face, some new place every day. Your hair won't stand up. And it's an hour bus ride each way with kids who are willing to point those things out to you anytime you need them to, and a few times when you don't. And a guitar. I started playing guitar, and all of a sudden, the guys in the band, it was like I had joined the club. I was an adult. I was a full human being. I was like, we spoke the same language. And it's like, hey, I'll show you a couple of things, you know? I will never, ever forget the role that mentors have played in my life, making my life a musical possible all these years later, any more than I will forget all of the people who have done the same for my child and her fiddle these last few years. This is a little tribute to mentors everywhere, and it's called Guitar Man. Man rolled into town one day in a beat-up Chevrolet. Said, my name is Luther Jones, and I came here to play. He pulled a case out of his trunk, tuned up where he sat. While he sang, his fingers danced like fireworks on the frets, 'cause he's a guitar man. Wood and steel strings ringing, guitar man. Love that song you're singing, guitar man. I wanna know what you know. Would you play us one more tune before it's time to go? He fingerstyled a cannonball and flat-picked soldier's joy. Slid from Robert Johnson's blues right into Red-Haired Boy. A crowd of people gathered round, the bills filled up his case. And now and then he'd nod his thanks, a smile upon his face, 'cause he's a guitar man. Wood and steel strings ringing, guitar man. Love that song you're singing, guitar man. I wanna know what you know. Would you play us one more tune before it's time to go? Martin's kept me company almost 1,000,000 miles. Town to town and stage to stage, kept going by your smiles. But times are tough all over, yet somehow we still get by. So check your troubles at the door. Now it's time to fly like that guitar man. Y'all can sing it. Wood and steel strings ringing, guitar man. Love that song you're singing, guitar man. I wanna know what you know. Would you play us one more tune before it's time to go? Hey, guitar man. Wood and steel strings ringing, guitar man. I love that song you're singing, guitar man. I wanna know what you know. Would you play us one more tune before it's time to go? you. If you're willing to tolerate one more, I'd be delighted. I can't thank you enough. Didn't tell you I was going to do it twice. What are friends for but surprises, my brother? Golly. If you're going to ask me if I play any two songs in the same tuning on this guitar, the answer is maybe, but I don't think so. But I love that big old low, deep C note right there. Reminds me of this friend of mine, Chris King. Chris was a longtime friend, and he asked me to. He knew he was dying of cancer. His wife had passed away a few years before, and frankly, he was ready to go the day that the memorial service for his wife was, and he hung around for a while longer. But I was like, yeah, okay, sure, I will. Yes, my friend, I will do that, of course. And Chris was a lot of things. He was a radio host. I remember him, he had a local radio show on Wage Radio in Leesburg for several years, and he would play a lot of us, but like anytime I had some crazy project going on, I could go in and talk about it on the radio with him. Like the time I had 2 third-grade classes write songs, and I thought, golly, these are pretty good songs, we should go record them. And since I happened to be at a recording studio like up in the woods just east of Lincoln all the time, I brought the kids up there. They had a school bus come up the gravel roads and stuff, and the kids recorded their songs, and Chris said, well, let's have them come in and we'll play their songs on the radio and stuff. And they did, and it was crazy, and it was the most wonderful experience. And that was his life kind of in a microcosm. But he also had this great fascination and love and reverence for the blues, especially of the area of Leesburg, just south of Leesburg near Oatlands Plantation. He learned a lot about the formerly enslaved people who'd lived there, and he also had this beautiful, big, deep bass voice like that. So when it came time for doing the eulogies, he asked me and Les Thompson. Les is one of my bandmates and a dear friend for a long time, but Les also is one of the founding members of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and a lot of people know him for that, and the Will the Circle Be Unbroken album. And so Chris asked the two of us to do eulogies, and so Les had worked out everything that he was going to say, and I was like, well, Chris would probably just appreciate me just going in and improvising some blues on there on his behalf. And it was at the Unitarian Chapel in Loudon, which is on land that those formerly enslaved people lived on. In the late 1880s, after working in the fields all day, they would have a timber raisin, sort of like a barn raisin, but a church raisin. And one of the members of the Unitarian church, the Unitarians bought the church in like 1990 or something after the original congregation outgrew it and moved to downtown Leesburg. So they had, one of the members made this beautiful painting, and I always see it in my head when I tell this story, because it's just like everybody working, and there's fires, and there's pots cooking over the fires, and they're putting up the timber for this church we're inside of. And I remember that Chris invited me to play at the dedication when the Unitarians bought it. And I remember walking into this little country chapel out on Gleedsville Road, and it's all wood, and I walk in, and I'm like, whoa, feel that. I mean, the joys and sorrows and hopes and fears of people who lived for a century with Jim Crow and segregation and lynchings and stuff. And all of it soaked into the wood. It's like, this is an amazing building. And I remember playing at the dedication that it had been a cloudy day, and somewhere during the part of the service, the sun broke through the clouds and came through the windows, and it just exploded in this little chapel. So for Chris's memorial, I was like, well, anything is going to sound lovely in there, but I thought I would play around with the dobro for a little bit before we went. And I started composing, and like in 15 minutes I had an index card with my eulogy written on it, and it was like typical blues form. And I thought, okay, well, if that's what you want, my brother, I'll do that for you. Because it clearly came from somewhere else, so there it is, right? So it's my turn to do that, and I'm playing it. And it's a cloudy day, and wouldn't you know, the sun just bursts through the clouds while I'm singing it and just makes this chapel glow. So I leave you tonight with a little sun glow from a little country church with a hard and joyful heritage. Time comes, don't shed a tear. When my time comes, don't shed a tear. Got all I need, and it's beautiful here. When my time comes, raise your voice and sing. When my time comes, raise your voice and sing. Sound just like angels when that joyful noise rings. Time comes, hold out your hand. When my time comes, hold out your hand. Don't you worry about me, lift up your fellow man and woman too. My time comes, yeah, ring them bells. When my time comes, ring them bells. Till we meet again, fare thee well. Thank y'all so very much. Thanks, Wolfma. Thanks, Focus. Thanks, everybody tuned in at home.
One more round of applause for Andrew McKnight.
Thank you.
Wasn't that spectacular? So good to be back and listening to live music again, and Andrew does it like no one else. And we're really glad he could be here. Next Focus show, just as a reminder, is in Rockville, Maryland, at their venue up there, and it's Gold Pine. If you haven't heard them before, they are a treat for the ears as well. And we'll be back here somewhere around the March time frame. We haven't booked anything yet, but that's what we're thinking of. So be on the lookout either on WFMA.net or focus.org or our websites, or look on our Facebook pages. And you all have a good night. Drive home safe. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here anymore. Good night.